Different's great, but being different for the sake of being different, I'm not a big fan of, right? If you just want to be different for the sake
technology
of it. Technology
increased, I would hide behind it.
And you start to hear some of their challenges, and yes.
Because it speaks to the core of who you are and what drives you forward. Because what makes you different is what drives you.
Welcome, everyone, to the Master Connector Show. I'm your co-host, Rob Genovesi. And if you're joining us live today, welcome. Thank you for coming. We know you're going to get some great value out of this. And hopefully, and bookmark this, because we're coming live every single Wednesday, 1 o'clock Eastern Time, bringing you amazing guests who are going to share their stories, their experiences, their skill sets in order to help you fill in those knowledge gaps that you may have so that you can become more successful in the thing you do. You know, everybody's got to be a connector. I learned a long time ago as an introvert, I needed to be able to talk with people, to speak with people, to connect with people, build relationships. You can't do anything of any kind of magnitude alone. So I had to become a connector. And look, we want you to be able to find the information that you need in order to be more successful. So go to masterconnector.show. Why? Because you're going to be able to bookmark your calendar of the speaker that you need to hear. One of our wonderful guests, or many of them, are going to be able to tell you the thing you need to hear to be able to become more successful at what you do. So go to masterconnector.show, see the roster, see who's coming up throughout this year. And actually, we're booked into next year, and that'll be coming out on future updates of that calendar on masterconnector.show. And if you want to be a sponsor of an episode, you can also click a link there to get your name out there, sponsor one of our episodes, get your name out there, get connected. And look, you know, Steve and I, we go back 27 years, 2 introverts, 2 former shy guys who became master connectors. And, you know, I can't take that moniker, but he is the master connector. Let's bring him on, Mr. Steve Spiro. What's up, Steve? Come on, man.
What's up, Robbie J? Yeah, there we are. Yeah, you know, technology, it's great when it works, right? It's awesome. Great to see you, sir. And yeah, it's been a wild journey for sure. And I'm excited that today's guest is going to be amazing, and super pumped. And I want to hear a little bit of your story too, because you gave us a little teaser there. So can't wait to talk about that. But what's going on, everyone? Steve Spiro, the Master Connector, coming at you live and direct. So here's the question, right? What if burnout wasn't the end of your story, but the beginning of a powerful breakthrough? You know, and you know, a lot of us go through this. I can't say I've had any kind of major burnout situations. I've always been good about, you know, if you heard my story, you know, I've had several different reinventions and so forth. And some of the stuff that happened to me was not necessarily my internal challenges, but some of the things like external, for example, like, you know, the economy tanked and I, lost my roles in the advertising world and all sorts of stuff like that. But you know what? It's a very relevant topic today. And, you know, a lot of it is based on how you react and kind of not only how you react, but also what are you doing? Number one, prior to that, can you kind of prevent some of the burnout? Or when it happens, how do you react to that? And I've learned in life and success from very some successful people, it's not about what happens to you, it's how you react to it. So kind of what you do to, is a big key here. And, there's a lot of stuff that we're going to talk about today, but, really some of the things are, how are you surrounding yourself? What's your community? What's your network? Because when you do burn out and it can happen, or things kind of go funky, who can you turn to, right? There's those external forces that you could look to, and the people in your life, right? The other piece of it is, what are you doing on a daily basis to kind of, help self-medicate, so to speak? And that could be used in a bad way. And I don't mean it in any kind of like illegal substance, but like, are you meditating? Do you pray? What are you doing? What kind of stuff are you putting in those gates of yours, the ear gates, the eye gates, right? And how are you speaking, right? To me, everything that we do, we're programming our brain. and all the input we get programs our brain, and how we can actually kind of adapt to those situations based upon what we're doing to kind of program that brain is super important. For me, a big part of my my story and my journey is coming up with a mission statement. I created a mission statement recently, and that has allowed me to continue to steer through the challenges of life, the issues of life. And that was honestly a very big breakthrough for me, because once I figured that out, like, here's what happens. A lot of times we are, if you're like me, you're goal oriented. You look at things to kind of motivate you, or maybe inspire you. And maybe it's, you want to, like, recently we went to the Bali and Singapore. It was an amazing trip. But if that's your goal, okay, once you accomplish it, now what happens, right? Or if you're, or whatever it is, or maybe it's getting a car, or maybe it's the dream job, or the dream career, whatever it is. Once you accomplish it, now what happens? What excites you? And you got to find that next thing. So what I found helpful is I created a life's mission statement, and basically that becomes what steers my life. And it's one of those life mission statements that I don't know if I'll ever be able to accomplish and completely accomplish. I'll be able to take it to my grave and be able to continue to work on, strive for that. And to me, that keeps me excited. And, one of my posts, I think it was today, I talked about, there's a difference between motivation and inspiration. Motivation, is something you got to, stir up within you. But again, I think it's sometimes temporary if it's based on certain goals. But if you have something that really drives you and inspires you, and it's something that's maybe really stirs your soul, you can get through any challenges you have, whether it's burnout or other kind of life challenges. So it's going to be a great conversation. Get ready. So listen, if you're excited, which I know you are, if you're on here, by the way, get in the comments, connect with each other. I know we have an incredible community that supports us. Great to have Mike Zajac on here. Get in the comments and connect with each other. Tell us where you're from, city, state. We want to hear from you. This is the Master Connector Show. It's all about connection. So, but if you're ready to have my main man, Robbie G, introduce our guest, type in "let's go," and I'll pass it to you.
All right, let's go. Sarah Reuter is the founder and CEO of Experiences Elevated Consulting, an Elevate travel company where she combines her passion for events, incentive travel, and retreats with a mission to create meaningful impact. As an experienced designer and strategist, she partners with conscious brands to design experiences that spark emotion, build connection, and elevate purpose-driven impact. Beyond her work with organizations, Sarah is also a transformational coach for high-achieving event professionals. She specializes in helping them break free from burnout, perfectionism, and overwhelm through embodiment practices, mindset mastery, and energetic alignment. Her approach equips clients to navigate the chaos of event planning with resilience, clarity, and ease, allowing them to protect their peace and thrive in both work and life. Please welcome to the show, Sarah Reuter. What's up, Sarah?
Let's go. Let's go.
Good to have
How's
you.
it going?
Very good.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're pumped to have you here. And it's, the momentum was building as the week was coming up, and we just couldn't wait to have you on here. So also welcome to Katrina Johnson, who's going to be a guest on our show at some point soon. Great to have you on here, Katrina. So listen, we're excited. And, one of the things that I become much more conscious about is my awareness and what my surroundings around me, and, some of the energy that I bring to the table, both, energy that I have within me, but also energy, when I go into a room or a situation. So we want to talk about awareness, right? So Sarah, here's the question for you. How does awareness of your energy and limits become the first step to breaking free from burnout?
Such a great question, Steve. And it's the first step in anything in life. Truly, I really have found that my own journey of self-awareness and understanding how I operate, how I'm wired, my likes, my dislikes, all of it matters, and it allows me to move into the next step, which is building better boundaries. So just, the more self-aware we can become, the more radically responsible we can become for our choices. So, way back when I found myself in this like big burnout mode. I didn't have a lot of self-awareness back then. I truly didn't. I was really just going through the hustle bustle of life, and we can get stuck on autopilot. We get stuck on that hamster wheel. And sometimes we don't even know we're in a state of burnout. There's just so back to awareness being the very first key factor in really making a significant change in anything in your life.
Yeah, that's awesome. I love it. Yeah. Um, and so, the other thing that we want to touch on a little bit here is, in terms of boundaries, right? And Rob, you got then does that mean you're looking at say something? That's usually
my wife always says to me, "You look angry." I said, "No, I'm just thinking."
That's your thinking face.
All right. All right. That's a thinking stage. Okay. Yeah. So, a lot of times in today's culture, we talk a lot about boundaries, and, I think that we're going to go a different way with boundaries here. Right. So the question I'd like to ask you is, and community, type in #boundaries, please. Thank you. And again, before we get into that, let me just welcome Samuel. Great to have you on the show back again, Samuel. And of course, the amazing Yolanda Chin. Listen, if you haven't connected with Yolanda, if you're checking this show out, if you're a community member, make sure you connect with Yolanda. She's an amazing, incredible guest on the show, and she's welcoming you, Sarah. So Yolanda is awesome. Yeah. But yeah, let's get back to boundaries. So community, type in #boundaries. And so here's the question. Why are boundaries often the missing link between thriving and burnout?
Yeah, I mean, I think I kind of learned this the hard way in life early on in my career, being in the hospitality world. It's a yes, it's my pleasure industry, right? Everything is a yes. And there's a big part of me that is just a yes, it's possible. I'm all about possibilities. And yet you can fall into a trap of perfectionism and people pleasing. I tend to find that that's something I've really had to work through in my career path.
Yeah.
And so boundaries felt really rigid and rough. And like I was building a wall. I'm an extrovert. You guys are saying how you're both introverts. I'm very extroverted. I get energy from big rooms of people and really fill up. And my boundary line just was not really existent. And so I didn't know how to really protect and harness my own energy.
Yeah.
And I was always worried about disappointing or letting other people down. And so I really struggled with that. And I know a lot of people do. So I really think it's such a key factor in what I call my ABCs, a formula that I've kept it simple with and created, kind of co-created with learning the alphabet, right? But boundaries is the second step. And I think one of the biggest tools and resources I found out there was I heard her on a podcast. Her name is Terry Cole, and she's the author of a book called Boundary Boss. And that has been such a great tool for me to use as a resource. And in each chapter and in each end of the book, it teaches you practical blueprints as to really understanding why it's so hard for you to create boundaries and how to reframe it, so that you really can thrive in life, because it really can take us down a path that can lead to some toxic relationships.
I think this is a good time to talk about this, because a lot of people don't understand the difference between introvert and extrovert. And people think, oh, extroverts, they're outgoing and, they have big personalities, and introverts, well, they're shy. And it's not really true. It's an energy thing. We know this. And I think with the boundaries where you're talking about, Sarah, Lori, you get in a room full of people and you're energized. I was like, oh my gosh, as an introvert, if I get in a room of people that I've got to talk with, I know I've only got so much energy before I start to go downhill, and I could crash. And, we were talking before this show came on about when I discovered my boundary. And so this was pre-COVID. I was in my own business for probably 6 years, but full-time only really a year. And then I was in person like everybody else. And so I was doing, I was in several 1-hour meetings a week, maybe 2, maybe 3, and maybe meeting with people one-on-one, maybe 4 times a week. And, the rest of the time just doing the work that I do. And once COVID hit, we went on Zoom. I was like, wow. And I think this is where people really need to understand. more work isn't necessarily better, and you got to know yourself. We talked about awareness. I went to about 8 to 12 1-hour meetings a week and 6 to 10 face-to-face meetings a week with people on Zoom because I thought we have all this time. And I crashed. I absolutely crashed. My energy was gone. I canceled all my meetings for the upcoming week, and I disappeared for about 3 days. And I didn't know what was happening. I couldn't think, and I was in this depression state. And what I discovered when I came out of it was, number one, I can't let that happen again. So what was it for me? And I'd love, Sarah, if you have more insight about this, is I discovered for me, I knew how many of those things I could do in a week. So I didn't crash, because to get back the momentum was hard. And so, I had to limit the amount of those interactions I had in order to sustain nonstop energy, because you run your own thing. You had a peak performance. So maybe you have some insight as to how a person can discover their boundaries.
Can I just, Sam put a question in here. So maybe, I don't know if the answer to your question is related to this, but maybe you can tie it into this a little bit, or maybe kind of address Rob and then maybe answer, Sam's question as well.
Absolutely. Thanks for the question, Sam. And Rob, thanks for sharing part of your journey, because more people need to express this and talk about this and make it not such a stigma, because this is life. We had COVID that really shook some things up for a lot of people. And it goes back to self-awareness. It all points back to the awareness, understanding ourselves, understanding our limitations. And often we don't know them until we get out there on an edge. We don't know them until they hit us. We don't know what a boundary is until sometimes we hit rock bottom and say enough's enough. Most people that come to me are in pain. They're in the darkness, they're in the pain, and they're like, help me get out of this, right? And so again, having these conversations about what we can normalize and how we start. So one of the things I think that helped me with boundaries at first, because it felt so rigid and like such a wall, was that when I would be invited in, I get invited into a lot of things. And again, being that yes person, of course, I'd love it. My calendar would fill up, just like you were talking about, Rob. And all of a sudden I'd get to midweek or the end of week, and even being an extrovert, I still only have so much energy to give, and need some time back for myself to do the things that light me up. And so whenever I learned how to tune into my body, my physical body, we operate from our logic and our mind quite a bit. So I started to learn how to tune into my body. That was the number one thing. And I know that's kind of a struggle for some people, but sometimes when I wouldn't have an immediate answer and I knew I was kind of on the fence, sometimes you're like, yes, I'm in, I want to be there, I'm making it happen, and you do whatever it takes. That's kind of level 5, I call it. And then you've got your like level 1 of, let me really see what's going on. Your body's kind of telling you to wait and think this through. And so one simple, clear boundary I would say is, if I had that kind of pull back essence come about, I would just respond back by saying, you know what, can I think about this? Can you give me can I get back to you tomorrow? Because I needed time to process what was happening and why I was not, really ready to jump in and move forward and understand this dance and this energy that was happening inside of my body. So that was kind of my biggest stepping stone with creating a boundary. My first boundary was in the moment, face to face, in an email invitation, just ask, hey, can I get back to you? You know what? Thank you so much. Always start with the gratitude, right? Thank you so much for the invite. Can I get back to you? And taking those little baby steps.
That's awesome. So it sounds like you kind of, I want to make sure, was there any other points based on Sam's question? Because it sounds like what you're talking about is a reaction to somebody asking something of you. It sounds like the essence of his question is, kind of proactively setting boundaries. Is there any thoughts you have there?
Yeah, so once you start to understand, like, okay, what's giving me energy, what's taking away some energy. Yeah. You might need to have a conversation with someone. A lot of times it's in our circle of influence, those closest to us, family members, close friends, work colleagues, right? And so, again, taking personal responsibility, the conversation now starts like, hey, I've noticed that I talk about my feelings a lot. I'm starting to feel a little anxious about my calendar. And so I know I committed to this event with you, or to this conversation with you. I'm going to establish a clear boundary by taking ownership of my feeling. And it really takes the pressure off the other person of like, hey, I am taking ownership and making this about me. So it's really just about understanding where you need to make some shifts and some changes, and kind of making your list, right? Of like, hey, these are the people I want to speak to. Here are some clear boundaries that I want to set, whether it's with your time, your calendar, your energy, and just really, again, back to awareness, understanding, hey, I've taken on too much right now.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So I know you talked about the ABCs and awareness, boundary, and the third is clarity. Could you type in hashtag clarity? And I want to get through this. I don't want to rush you through it, but I do want to get to the energy audit if we can. So can you give us a little background on clarity? So what roles clarity play in moving from exhaustion to breakthrough, both personally and professionally?
In sequential order: awareness, boundaries, clarity. The clarity just kind of pops open. Honestly, it just kind of is this natural progression of, hey, I've taken self-awareness, I've taken radical responsibility. Step 2, I've created this new boundary that is about protecting my own personal power and energy. Step 3, okay, I have the clarity to move forward. This opens up and becomes expansive in so many other ways. And I've added another C word to with clarity, because with this new practice for some people of setting a boundary and working on self-awareness, you have to find compassion for yourself, because I promise you, you will fail. You will fail because we are hardwired in our patternings. We are, I'm a recovering people pleaser. So for me to say no, thank you, or no, and by the way, Sam, no is setting a clear boundary. Just no. No reason why. We don't have to explain ourselves. No, thank you is enough. And so just having that clarity of feeling, again, that, hey, I don't have to, explain every single detail about what's going on in my life as to why I need to refrain from this or say no to this. It just brings up a lot of clarity. And then again, compassion, because you will hit back in those patterns of, oh my goodness, here it goes again. I've loaded up my schedule. My calendar's booked. I'm feeling anxious. I'm feeling exhausted. Where do I need to reset and realign?
And that clarity, Sarah, that you're talking about, in my experience, the clarity, which, by the way, you said something in there, I don't know if people caught, like, boom, clarity pops open. I had clarity pop open in my life, and I don't know how I got it. I don't know anybody that teaches it. I've never read a book about it, but somehow clarity has been the kind of linchpin in my success journey, because the clarity helped me say no, help me see the boundaries, help me go, this isn't really going to take me to where I want to go. So I'm sorry, thank you, but I'm not able to take that on right now. Thus, helping me sustain a good level of energy and performance day to day. So the clarity is key.
It really is key. And I love to give the visual of, I remember the first time I put on glasses and I didn't even realize I didn't have 20/20 vision. I was unaware of what the world really looks like, and the lines and the edges of leaves on the tree, and faces from far away that I couldn't tell if it was a friend of mine or a stranger. And so putting on those glasses and building that awareness and creating that and having this pop of color and edges and lines and texture, it's kind of like that. If you've ever remember putting on glasses and seeing clearly for the first time. Yeah. 100%. Back to energy, I will even use this tool when I meet with prospective clients for the first time, because especially in business, first, going out in entrepreneurial world or whatever endeavor you're on, it's a yes, yes, yes. A lot of times it's like, oh my gosh, let me take this on. I need the business. I need the revenue. I need. And yet what we find sometimes is that we may not be a good fit. And it's, this project or this client or this, whatever it is ends up draining our energy and kind of sucks the life force out of us. And so really tapping into your personal awareness and your energy after interactions with people, you can become very clear very quickly as to what's pulling you in and magnetizing, or what's making you kind of be like, ooh, something's off here. Right?
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, man, I want to talk about energy, hashtag energy community. Would love to be able to do the energy audit, but I don't know if we're going to have enough time. I know you need about 5 minutes. So maybe you could just give us a little preview, and then community, you need to connect with Sarah, because then you could get the full Monty, if you will. So
Yeah. I think I've given away a freebie. It's my aligned freebie, but I do have this energy audit that is this kind of 3-step, 5-minute experience that you can use as a tool. It's a self-awareness tool, because energy tells the truth long before our words do. Always. I know this in my entire being. And so it's this guided self-awareness tool. It's 3 steps. It's designed to help you pause, tune in to your body, and realign so that you can respond from a place of clarity. And you can create, give yourself a moment to create a boundary if you need that. And so it's 3 steps. It stops by, dropping in and getting present. And I guide people through a quick little mindfulness, going through on a journey of the senses. And then after you drop in, step 2 is to choose a feeling word. A lot of us are cut off from our emotions and we kind of stuff them. And so it kind of brings us back into, how am I feeling in this present moment? So we choose one feeling word for our body, how our body feels in this moment, how our mind, the quality of our mind, and then the quality of our spirit. And when I say spirit or soul, I'm talking about kind of our higher self, right?
Yep.
And what you do is that you write down these 3 feeling words: mind, body, spirit. So there's this holistic overview of you as a human. And then you give yourself a percentage, just like back in school days, 0 to 100%. And it's not the grade, it's not the percentage that we want to focus on, because some days you're at 30%, and it's our reality. We have to be real with what's truly going on in our lives. So it's like an audit for yourself to build that self-awareness first. So once you know what you're dealing with on a daily basis, this is good for relationships and couples of like, hey, I don't have the bandwidth to have this conversation right now. I'm at a 30. On the other hand, you could be at a 90. And so it's a great tool to use before you go on to speak, speaking on big stages, before you're really going on to that big project. And, the bonus integration to this is, to reflect on your words and rating, and to understand, what do I need more of? What do I need less of? And what's one boundary I can put in place to get me to that feeling of what I need more of?
And I love, Sarah, as I hear these different hashtags and the topics you're touching on, how they're all interconnected. When we talk about awareness of ourselves, the boundaries that we have to create, the clarity around where we're going, and then the energy. So, if this helps the audience, I found my energy is sustained by tapping into where I have the most, depending on the time of day. I mean, I was writing this morning, and I'm not a writer. I'm a designer by training. I'm a brand strategist. I do a lot of thinking. So I'm not a writer, but I was writing for LinkedIn, and I realized I was reading, I was commenting, I was engaging on LinkedIn, I was writing posts. And after a while, my brain was like shutting down. Like I could only sustain so much of that kind of. So what did I do? I turned to design, where I started to get energy again, and I can go back to writing a little bit later. So tapping into our peak energy states, knowing yourself, audience, can help you get through your day very productively. And, then, a lot of times I'll do networking first thing in the morning when I'm good, I'm ready to go, but then I can't talk to people anymore.
Absolutely.
That's great. Well, I just we are right at the bottom of the hour. So this as every show does, especially with amazing guests like Sarah, it just flybys. But Sarah, we want to give you an opportunity. I know you have an amazing offer for our community. Would you talk about that, please, and also include, besides that, best way for them to connect with you and reach out to you?
Absolutely. So I think I gave you guys my aligned freebie guide, which kind of goes through our energy centers. I educate people about our energy centers. There's 7 of them in our body.
Yeah.
And I don't know if there's a way to go back after this is done, but I could also drop in this energy audit so people can have access to that as well. So that
That'd be
energy
great.
audit, yeah, we can do that as
Yep.
well.
There you go. Yeah, we put that. And what's the best way for our community to reach you? Because you're amazing.
Oh, thank you so much. It's experienceselevatedconsulting.com.
All right. Awesome. Well, this was great. We really appreciate you big time. You really blessed our community. Make sure you connect with Sarah. Get that 5-step guide if you can. So, but Sarah, we just really glad you're on here with us, and look forward to connecting again soon. Community, make sure to connect with her. So I'm going to have you go in the green room to close down the show.
Thank
I
you,
appreciate
Steve.
you. All righty. All right. Well, good stuff. Well, hey, if that excited you, community, make sure that you go to masterconnector.show and look at the next episode 229, September 17th. It's going to be see the good in things, good things in others. The good in things and others. Okay, there it is. It's a little bit of a mouthful there with Kevin Smith. It's going to be a great show. If you'd like to learn how to be a sponsor of the show, go to masterconnector.show and make sure that you you connect. And if you want to you would be a sponsor of an episode, not necessarily the show per se, but yeah, if you want to be a sponsor of the show, you can as well. But listen, community, I'm gonna skip because we're already beyond time. But listen, if you're like me and you want to really be that light, I am. I've had some challenges, like we all have, right? And but you know what? In those challenges, we can really inspire others, and it's important for us to go out there and just tell our story so we could ultimately be the light. So appreciate you guys, love you guys, and we'll see you next week.
And you start to hear some of their challenges, and yes,
because it speaks to the core of who you are and what drives you forward. Because what makes you different is what drives you.